You're listening to Common Sense and Beer, where we talk about heavy-hitting topics with a beer in hand. My name's Zach. I'm a co-host, and my other co-host,
Kyle.
We are going to talk about the Israel-Hamas conflict tonight.
Should be fun because neither of us know anything really about it, but I think we both have some opinions, and we both kind of keep a little bit of I don't know. I'd say dipping our toes into the what's out there with it because it is something pretty serious. Probably the kickoff to World War III. So something you should pay attention to.
Yeah.
Something you should definitely investigate, and something that we'll probably do a little bit of tonight. So that should be fun.
There was at one point where I got all of my news and everything from social media. There was one point where that's all it was. And so, like Ukraine, when that started happening, all the stuff I was seeing was on TikTok, Facebook, all that. And I'm like, it's not a good idea to get all of your news from social media sources.
Nope. Nor is it a good idea to get it from the cable box.
True.
But yeah, TikTok especially probably.
Well, you do. I mean, that's the thing. It should be encouraged that everyone does their own research, right? You know, from multiple different sources. I know.
Check them all.
But yeah, so Israel Hamas, basically what I know of it is that Hamas kind of started this, most recent conflict anyway with the two. Hamas just kind of went in and started basically showing off their stuff and kind of attacking Israel. And Israel.
So you don't know anything about this.
Barely anything. Anything.
Hamas,
I know,
like the recent thing. You don't.
Yeah, no, I know that there's been conflict over there for the last
for a long time.
Yeah. So I know that, but I don't know necessarily exactly how all of this most recent conflict started.
So there was a music festival going on, and then I don't know where. I think it was the place that borders kind of Gaza, like the settlements that they call them, where the settlers are going, and they don't call them humans. They call them Hamas and Palestinians refer to those people as terrorists.
Okay.
So that's how they view them. So when Hamas goes and there's a music festival, so you have a lot of foreign nationals around, just people going to this, probably one of those like Tomorrow Fest type techno ragers. Okay. And they come in with paragliders and just all sorts of stuff, and people at the show thought it was, they're like looking like, hey, that's cool.
Yeah, they think it's a show. Yeah.
Pretty much. So yeah, they swoop in, and then all of a sudden they start just indiscriminately killing people. They were going door to door and just murdering families, murdering the parents in front of the kids, murdering the kids in front of the parents.
This was Hamas going into Israel?
Yep, and they had GoPros on. They were recording themselves doing these things. These videos came out as it was happening.
Wow.
They were very happy about these attacks. And then you have Black Lives Matter come out with the thing. It was the paraglider, and it says, "We stand with Israel." I don't know if you saw that.
No.
A bunch of Ivy League groups are supporting. There was a massive crowd in London. It filled the bridge. There's a big overview picture, and support for Hamas.
Oh, support for Hamas.
Well, Palestine, right?
Yeah,
through Hamas.
Right.
So, you get these things that happen, and it's like, all right, I understand. Yeah, Palestine, sure. These people are also being hurt by the IDF and the extreme, indiscriminate, overuse of force by the Israeli Defense Forces. In some areas, there's checkpoints.
Okay,
show me the papers, as you will.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the papers, some of them kill people. So, that I understand it. It's going to drive a level of extremism.
Sure.
But it doesn't justify it. It never will.
Right.
It's a heinous terrorist attack. And now we have U.S. troops over there. Missile defense systems,
that's
troops,
what I heard.
Boats.
Yeah. Aircraft carrier.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I didn't, like I said, most of my news, I am usually very busy. It's not really necessarily an excuse to not stay informed, but most of the news that I was getting at one point about Ukraine and stuff was usually over, social media, and I don't really pay attention to social media too much anymore. unless it's some funny joke. But yeah, I mean, it's from what I've seen about it, it doesn't seem like there is. Well, let me ask you, because you've obviously heard more about it than me. What is the culture here in the U.S. seem like? I mean, are they favoring one over the other? Is it? Are there different groups of people that are taking sides?
What like specific like political groups? You mean just within the U.S. or what are you?
Yeah, I mean, would you say in the U.S. overall, Israel is being favored in this, or Hamas? Well, I mean, from what I understand, from what I've seen, Hamas seems to be the bad guy in the scenario.
Hamas absolutely is the bad guy in the scenario, and it's just conflated with Palestinian support,
right?
I think. So you kind of have the people that there's probably people out there that really support Palestine but don't support the terrorist attack, but they're taking the time to support Palestine right now, which I understand. It's like, you're still supporting your cause. It's something you feel deep about. In a sense, you don't want to back away from that, but to come off and just say that these people don't deserve to live and they should be wiped out is pretty atrocious.
Okay,
but I mean, as far as political groups,
I mean,
there are people just different sentiments. So like you have the leftist, like Black Lives Matter type crowd. Your progressive activists, they're pro Palestine. They're pro, to the extreme, they're pro Hamas, I would say.
Okay.
But then you have your establishment, your uniparty, your fascist American empire, if you will, whatever you want to call it. These people support Israel pretty much to the fullest. You have that section in the squad in Congress, though, like Rashida Tlaib. They kind of have that. Dearborn, Michigan is her district, and that whole area is ran by Muslim Americans at this point. And I feel like she keeps kind of a more low-key, to an extent, because she does do crazy little events where she makes a fool of herself. She does that from time to time. It's pretty hilarious, so you should check some of those out.
Yeah.
But, I've always kind of felt like that's ground zero for their little pro-Palestine, sect of the government, because if you look at, it's religion. It's you're going to support Palestine if you're Muslim, and you're going to support Israel if you're a Jew,
right? And
more often than not, you're going to support Israel if you're a Christian,
right?
That's just generally the way it goes.
Yeah.
So with that said, your conservative Republican Uniparty, also fascist American empire, same side of the coin. All these people are very pro-Israel. I want Donald Trump's Biden. They're both pro-Israel, but Biden has that base of leftists that he has to kind of swimmingly, well, I support Hamas and Palestine, but Israel, and he's like telling the Israeli people, like while he went there, he was telling them about like giving the Palestinian people money, and it's just like, what?
Yeah,
this is for the West or the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on the foreign affairs of Israel, and this is just kind of things I know. I know they have checkpoints in certain areas. It's not everywhere. Certain areas, I know that they do kind of the apartheid segregation type stuff with the if you have a license plate, if you're Jewish, you have a different one if you're Muslim. The checkpoint thing, I don't think they like certain areas of Jerusalem. They like just don't allow certain people in. I wonder what those certain people are. I'm not 100% sure, but I could guess. And then, like I said, it's kind of atrocious that you have the people that descended from the people that escaped atrocity, Hitler, Holocaust, extermination, if you will, just persecution based on your religion, which is horrible.
Yeah.
And then they left that, and they're doing that to a people, that kind of, I don't know if they let them in. That's what I mean. I'm not a complete expert, but it's just to see those things from their military forces happen. It's kind of wild. And then to watch these people go in and just, there was one thing, like, and I mean like just horrible acts. This guy went in and called his dad and like all excited that he's like, oh, I killed 10 Jews already, and he's bragging about it.
Jeez.
You know, like and it's like all these things happen. It's
such a foreign concept to me. You know, wanting to murder somebody just because of what they believe or because of the religion that they practice. It's such a foreign concept to me, and I think most Americans would agree with that. But
yeah,
I
would say so too.
I think there's something to be said as well, though, with them being so close together in the world and having such kind of radical beliefs that it's just that much easier to have a conflict, to this size.
Yeah, and I mean that's the ancient world, right?
Right.
I mean, you look at Iran right now, where they're talking about starting the war, because it comes down to they unfroze that $6 billion to Iran. Iran turns around. What do? They're a big funder of terror against they hate the United death to the U.S. is what they chant in their congressional whatever type meetings, and death to Israel. They don't like us and them. They want us all dead. No, and they've always wanted this. But that land is Persia, ancient Persia. I mean, that empire that's ancient.
Yeah,
these people have always been warriors. They've always been at war. So my personal stance on it is I don't know. I mean, we give Israel a bunch of money for their missile defense stuff. If they want to launch an incursion that's going to piss a bunch of other areas off that neighbor them and cause more people to attack them, I think that's kind of the consequence that they're facing if they do what they're planning on doing, which I think they're doing. Yeah. I don't see why we need to get involved at all.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind
of jumped right into that one.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my thought is the U.S. kind of has a reputation of being the world police. It seems like we're getting involved in anything that we feel like needs to be, morally fixed or need to be the remedy to the situation.
The moral saviors, or at least that was the script that was being sold on us for a long time.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. It just baffles me because we're spending a lot. Well, they just proposed like $100 billion, didn't they? $100 billion between to go to Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan.
I did not. I am not up to date on that. Is that what the number is for the financial package for the World War III package?
Yeah, we could call it that. Yeah, there you go.
Aid.
Yeah. There it is, right there. $100 billion.
$100 billion.
Yeah. Yep. That's crazy.
That's good.
And the crazy.
That's cool. So it's not going to let you get away. So anyways.
Crazy. The crazy part about that is, I mean, $100 billion, what ticks you off about that is that's us paying for that, and I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. We're the ones that are going to have to pay for it because they're printing all of the extra money to send it over. So I'm not sure. Good grief. What's going on over there?
It's just taking over.
Yeah, that's crazy though. $100 billion. And so like Ukraine and Russia, obviously we could talk about that too, but
we could. I mean,
that's another one. Yeah. Why do we have a dog in the fight? I don't understand why America feels like they need to be.
Well, the sheep. The sheep feel okay. Look at how many people are involved in politics right now in their ages. Those people grew up during the Red Scare where they were hiding under their desk, and the Soviet Union was going to nuke them at any second. And I get it, man. I'd be scared too. But
so do you think
that's not a thing anymore?
Right. So what you're saying is you think that
it is now. Sorry, it is absolutely is now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're saying is you think that this is the kind of foreign policy that we're taking right now where we're getting involved in these conflicts. You think that's sort of a preemptive thing you think that people, politics in today's politicians think that if we don't get involved now, we're going to have to rush into action and do all that? You think it's something preemptive, or?
I think maybe at one point it was. There's talks of the New World Order being a thing, liberal New World Order, where George Bush, the senior, junior, a bunch of Cheney, a lot of these, the uniparty, more Republican side, the neocons, whatever you want to call them, they kind of had this playbook, and it was a bunch of nations right off the bat. Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan. It was a bunch of Middle Eastern. Syria was one of them. I think Libya, Egypt. But basically, they went in and destabilized all these areas. They did the color revolutions in some of them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Iran's. So that's where, because I like my conspiracy theories, and the one I had on Biden was that he was a globalist, but I kind of seems like he's going for the liberal New World Order again, because now they're like, oh, we got to do Iran now, and we're kind of right back to when Obama was president. It's almost like the Trump presidency never happened. It's like COVID just kind of wiped it from existence.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, I never thought about that. That's a good point. You don't think about a lot of the foreign policy. Well, a lot of people don't think about the foreign policy that was enacted when Trump was in office.
Well,
and
under Obama, we almost had war with North Korea and Russia.
Right. And then, lo and behold, a few months into Trump's presidency, he's shaking hands with these people.
Yeah, tension's cool.
And it's kind of funny that you say that. I never thought about that. Is that, Trump's foreign policy is just never talked about it at all. Never given any credence or anything.
If you really wanted to know why, rolling back to why you believe whether or not we should be involved with Israel, the reason why we're so involved with Israel and why we like them so much is because there's a lot of Jews that are wealthy in America.
You heard it. He said it, not us.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of wealthy Jews in America. That would make sense. You would have a lot of sentiment that way.
Well, there are 4% of the U.S. adults in America, and yet they're making way more than the average American.
Yeah, and I think the same too can be said about Indian and Asian American households as well.
Israel is not in NATO, right? Are they in NATO? Are they a recognized NATO country? Okay, I didn't know if they were just a. I didn't know if they were.
You know
just
what's
an
crazy
ally.
is that Turkey's a NATO country, and I don't think they're an actual. Like, I think they're a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I think they're going to switch sides. I think they're honestly a more of a Russian aligned that group, the BRICS nations.
Okay,
I don't know if you saw, but Turkey just moved a warship towards Israel, telling them to knock it off on killing civilians.
I did see that they did a show force in the Bosphorus Strait, and then I didn't see that specifically, but it makes sense. If Israel's just going in and just bombing indiscriminately this place just because, not just because Hamas did a crazy terrorist attack, it's like, go in and go through their tunnel networks and go through there. Do what you got to do through there, but do that, man. Don't just bomb everything that's indiscriminately. That's kind of wild to think about. It's your land.
Well, so let's talk about the morality of this quick. I would say that it's not morally right. Again, people say that war is way different than, war doesn't necessarily have morals to it. But I would say that, Israel should not, quote unquote, fight fire with fire. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. I have no idea what the answer should be or would be, but I think there's probably a more tactful way of doing it, but at this point, it's going to take something quick and ready to action.
I'm guessing for them, it's going to take some sort of solution. Maybe they're about done. Maybe it's ready. Maybe they want some sort of final solution. They're just bombing indiscriminately the civilians at this point.
Yeah,
and that's where they're going to get people's heads are going to get, they're going to go crazy, man.
Yeah. So do you think the U.S. will get more involved?
Yes.
in what time frame? Do you think weeks, months?
We're doing stuff now. I'm pretty sure right now there's missiles going off on our bases all over Iraq, Syria. Remember, Trump said we have the bases in Syria for the oil. We still have our bases in Iraq because I don't know. I couldn't explain why.
I don't know if you, sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if you know that Iran has already attacked Iran militia has attacked 19 separate times in Syria. And we then bombed Syria for it.
Yeah. I think that was the one I saw. They're the Iranian proxies, right? Is what they were calling them. And, these groups, there's a ton of these groups. There's so many of them. They're just little networks, and with the way our border's been, I would absolutely bet that a bunch of them are here. And the crazy thing is, a lot of them are probably close. Like I said, that Dearborn, Michigan, is probably their little HQ.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big connection too between the pro-Hamas movement and the Antifa BLM movement. The riots and the way they protest looks very similar.
Really?
The black bloc of Antifa is... look at the black bloc. You got to search this up. Look at black bloc on Antifa and then just compare it up to a Hamas soldier. It's the same aesthetic. You know, they might have some camo or something in theirs, or their headband with the Arabic on it. I don't know what their sayings are, but they might have some stuff like that going on there. But it's the same... It's like the same strategies of, harassment without lethal force, kind of co-adopted, if you will. But it's the same strategies, the way they do the rioting and protesting. If you look, they look very, very similar. And then you have on the pro-Palestinian Hamas side, they're filming fake footage. Like New York Times put in there that the hospital was bombed, and there was no hospital. The parking lot got a bomb.
Yeah.
And it was a rocket that was derelict from Hamas.
Yeah. Right. I heard about that.
Blew up the parking lot, and then they said 500 people died. Israel blew up the hospital.
Yeah.
And New York Times put this picture of a building exploding on their thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what? The Wall Street Journal printed it. Printed that picture. The New York Times, they referenced the New York Times and printed that and put it into the
media.
paper.
The media propaganda machine at its finest.
It's crazy to watch, man. The people that can't see it are going to be our downfall. Hopefully, I think enough people see it. At least, most areas that I've been to, people are pretty level-headed, and we're all pretty much seemingly on the same page. So I don't think the sentiment that you see online is a true sentiment on a lot of these things. But on that issue, I mean, there is a large sect of people that support the pro-Palestinian side. And, just to kind of go along with that, I've actually learned somewhat recently that there's been a lot of money from Muslim groups, like a lot of these princes and whatnot have pushed money towards the books. Basically, our kids have been getting they've kind of painted the terms like jihad in a different light and what have you, and kind of give a softer stance on the Muslim culture. Don't spread they don't mention spread Islam by the sword and all these other good sayings.
That's where we are at in this country right now, is we're just trying to... Everyone wants their safe space. Everyone deserves their safe space. You can't talk about, anything that would offend anybody.
Unless it's eradicating white people who are now the Jews.
Correct. Yeah, and it's so silly to me. It's so silly to me that you can't call something that is obviously bad, like a terrorist organization. People are afraid to say such things. It's so sad. All right. Sorry about that. We had to take a little bit of a break, but we're starting back up here. So I think what the conflict is, from what I'm seeing, the conflict is boiling down to yet another conflict in the Middle East caused by, or I should say triggered by, terrorist acts.
Terrorism.
Okay.
It's happening again. We're there.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's part of the war strategy too is, to kind of keep things chaotic. I feel like they know the border's been porous, and I feel like they know who's in the board, who's been coming through. And I feel like they also know that kicking this hornet's nest is going to cause a bunch of other hornet's nests to go crazy.
Sure.
We watched a video while on the break about the Russian airport. Angry mob goes in wild, chanting Allahu Akbar, looking for the Jewish
Jews.
passengers to get off this flight from Israel. And it's just a swarm of zombies, which I think is actually a story in their book. They're kind of their end time story that it'll be overrun by these zombie hordes. They'll be like false Muslims. They'll be kind of like them, but they'll be more like kind of like ISIS. The description that I've heard before made them more sound like ISIS, but this is kind of the same thing. These people are just what are they gonna do? They're just gonna just beat people up.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
What does the person on the plane have anything to do with anything? They don't know them.
Yeah.
And then what if it's like a flight that like landed in Israel, but it's like from a different country, So it's like a bunch of people that have no clue what's going on, and they're just like, "What in the world, dude? All these Allahu Akbar people are freaking. Why are they mad at us? Like,
right.
We didn't do nothing to them.
Yeah.
And they're just coming in from some other country. What do you got there, Joe? What's that?
Let's
Why don't
see.
you
Got
give us a descriptor? Because
a
I can't even.
shipping container
It's a man on a shipping container fighting the IDF with a slingshot.
with a slingshot.
There you go. What's about to happen? Oh, he just took himself out, didn't he?
David and Goliath over here.
It's efficient. Oh, we got another backup slingshotter.
Yeah. Jeez.
No, I think he got shot in the leg or
I
something
think
like
he
that.
got shot. Yeah.
Oh, that's why he's not getting up.
Yeah. That's why his one leg isn't moving at all, Kyle.
Well, you see, I mean, we
Toss him
did the same
down.
thing to the Iraqis and the Afghanis and anywhere else we go. So
Yeah.
Well, he had a grenade-sized thing in his hand,
Yeah.
so
no,
you
that's
have
what
to
I
take
mean.
him out.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Even if it was just a rock, it doesn't matter. You take him out. It just is what it is. That's what you do.
Well,
And that's, I mean, these people are doing it.
yeah.
It's kind of, and it is very interesting how upset we are that Iran funded all this, and we're like World War III with Iran now.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been funding the Ukraine this entire time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Russia and NATO and everybody knows it. They said it right off the bat. I think Russia said it like, we know this is a war with NATO. I'm pretty sure early on that was said by someone in their chain of command.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this then. So, what do you think the repercussions would be if, say, the U.S. decided and strictly said we will not be involved in this fight? What do you think would happen? So we're talking about right now how we don't like that the U.S. seems to be the world police. So let's talk about because I like to look at it at both sides of the coin. So what would happen if, say, the U.S. decided, you know what, this is between you guys keep it over there, we're not getting involved. What do you think the repercussions, benefits, pros, cons?
So I guess it's kind of hard, right? Because a lot of these it's not like nations that would declare war necessarily. You have the Taliban that would want to attack. You'd have all these different tribal type groups of extremist jihadists that would want to decimate Israel if they did commit atrocities. Which, I mean, you whip them up with the frenzy with the fake hospital deal.
Sure.
All of a sudden, your embassies are burning overnight, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's inevitable that we'll get roped into this one because of all the bases we have, all these proxy bases we have out there. They're going to start getting attacked. We're going to have to do something.
Okay.
Whether it's just a rescue op and a retreat, a tactic, maybe we shut some of these down and get out with I don't know, maybe that's the Biden method. We'll just give them some more guns and stuff and say, here you go.
Well,
whoever gets here first, guys, good luck.
Yeah. Do you think that's a legitimate, or I should say, how much of our strategy do you think that is protecting our own bases or recovering our own bases to pull the, I mean, our bases in general, how much do you think that adds to our involvement?
If you think of the context of the situation, we didn't have any of this going on under Trump. As soon as Biden gets in, this is going on. Biden had a meeting, or, I don't know if Biden was even there, but what's his Oh, the administration people. I don't know. They're all really, really weak men, so I really don't even care who they are.
Yeah.
Anyways, these weak men were told by the Chinese officials that they do not come from a position of power anymore. You take that with what you will, whatever you want that to mean. I think it means a couple things, personally, and I kind of feel like if what's best for China would have been that we got out of Afghanistan and shut that base down. That's a good thing for China.
Mm-hmm.
It's another good thing for China. The Middle East flares up, and the sentiment is people don't want another war, so U.S. shuts down all their Middle Eastern bases, and now China can kind of swoop in, or maybe their alliance with Iran, or whatever they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Their Belt and Road Initiative, maybe because they're trying to become the new power, and they're getting there.
Yeah.
They're going to surpass us at this rate.
So you think that this kind of stuff, you think that the U.S. needs to keep bases over there?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I'm saying from a point of view, if you look at it from the China perspective, these things are also good for China. I personally would like, I understand I don't want a world ran by China. That sounds horrible and nightmarish as well, but nightmarish. But I mean, what are you going to do? You can't America exported all our manufacturing. We need to have a strong manufacturing base. We need to be able to be isolationists. We need to have a strong military that's defense only. These are the things that the nation was founded upon. But we've always been at war with these countries, these Persian countries.
Yeah.
They've always declared death to us. They don't like what we like. They're anti-Christian. They've always been that way. And we have been built on a Christian nation, no matter. I've actually seen sentiment online, people saying that this isn't based on a Christian nation, and they really amplify the whole separation of church and state thing, which I believe was something that was like really loosely based, like kind of like an interpretation of what he said, but not really like in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure people get that one wrong a lot. But
yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. I think it's pretty obvious when you read the Constitution that it was based off of Christian morals, Christian, and
yeah, we have Christian atheists in this country. Our atheists don't even realize that because a lot of them are like, well, it's just common sense to have these types of beliefs or morals, and they talk about 10 Commandment type stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not going to just go murder people. It's like, well, guess what? That's a Christian thing, dude. Like, that's like the rest of the world doesn't believe the way you do. If you do them wrong or their religion says they can, they will kill you. Without the drop of a hat, man, like you're done for. Yeah, they're going to and they're not going to feel remorse or guilt for it. They're going to be rewarded by their God.
Yeah, so I think it's really crazy to me because people like to discount the Bible a lot. People like to discount it, but the fact of the matter is it is a historical artifact. It's historical.
It's the best history book you could ever read.
Yeah, and while it just doesn't make any sense to me that people just can't grasp the fact that there are people that refuse to believe that the Bible has anything historical, anything of historical value in it.
Yeah, I don't. It's people don't realize when Christ even happened. I think. Right. Because a lot of people think that's right. a really old story, and it's like, it's not.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure Rome was a thing when Christ happened.
Yeah. Well,
pretty sure wasn't it the Roman soldiers that helped kill him?
Yep.
So
they went to Rome. So the Jewish leaders went to the government, i.e. Rome, to see if they could take care of him, and Rome basically said, "No, this is your thing. This isn't anything of ours. He's not breaking any laws of ours."
Oh, geez, that kind of sounds like my opinion on what the Americas should do.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think what's crazy, going back to the religious thing too in the Bible, is what else is really interesting to me too is almost every religion out there confirms that there was some sort of worldwide flood.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Even Native American, Native American culture. I know all kinds of cultures and religious beliefs actually have some sort of historical belief of the flood.
You just lost all your viewers.
Yeah.
Oh, did we know? So no, that's very interesting actually, because I thought about that.
The viewers that we would lose from this kind of conversation are the ones we wouldn't want listening anyway.
I guess.
No. Everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome.
So that's those stories. The Great Flood, was that an answer to Sodom and Gomorrah, or was Sodom and Gomorrah predated the flood?
Sodom and Gomorrah, I believe. Oh, now you're asking me hard questions. I believe Sodom and Gomorrah was after Noah. No, actually.
Hold on, we have Google.
Yeah, Joe's gonna Google it.
Google knows God.
Yeah. I want to say it was not directly correlated to Sodom and Gomorrah. It's not like Sodom and Gomorrah happened and, the Bible says, God said, I don't like Sodom and Gomorrah, so we're going to flood the earth.
There's a conspiracy theory out there about the, I think it's like the electron theory, or I don't know, some sort of theory. There's a interview with this guy that says the CIA obtained a quantum computing system that predicted the end of the world. Basically, this is what was going to happen. The poles were going to shift, and it sounded like a Earth realignment thing, but it basically ends with a big wall of water. And when you read the story from the Bible, where it's like the clouds were the wave, right? Like that's how insane it was, and it's like that kind of sounds similar. Where like the magnetic poles, maybe they stop and do a weird shift deal, and then all of a sudden the water just and then changes direction, and now you've got this giant wave, and all of a sudden the land masses are changed out. So we got something pulled up here though. What do we got?
I was just gonna say it's after.
The flood was after. Or Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Okay, Sodom and Gomorrah was
after the flood.
But
okay, so our Sodom and Gomorrah would predate our flood if it was to happen.
Right.
If it's so, what I all I'm saying is maybe this is a story that was written down through time in this history book, this great book, to kind of say like a cycle that the Earth goes through. You know what I mean?
That's one way to look at it.
That's just where I'm at.
Yeah. I think so. What else is really interesting about the flood too is scientists. It's not just the flood. It's all kinds of stuff in the Bible where they'll use science to try to explain why it happened and why it wouldn't have been something supernatural. This was something that happened. And it's so funny because they'll explain like a wind tunnel effect that split the Red Sea, even though they're not denying that it ever happened. They're saying
that's what gets me, right?
Yeah, they're proving it.
They're saying these things happen.
Yes,
they're
that's
just
the thing.
trying to also explain how they happen.
Exactly, they
and
never
like,
deny.
I do not know.
Yeah,
but there's so many cool movies about stuff like man,
oh yeah,
I gotta find there's a good list. But yeah, my wife got this movie for us to watch, and it was basically about that, where this guy's an atheist and he hates it, and he
no, it wasn't 2012.
It was not the movie 2012. No, not
John
the end of the
Cusack,
the star. But it's basically about an investigative journalist who's super atheist and doesn't believe anything. By the end of the movie, he believes.
Yeah,
because he finds like, oh, all these things actually happen. Oh, like oh, that's crazy. Like I didn't realize that. And
it's almost like the historical book that you're reading that you're trying to refute might have things correct in it.
Yeah, and that's what I think people, when they just think that they're smarter than everybody else and they think they're just a religious nut job. It's like, well, I would trust a religious nut job, air quotes, I'll do that for them, but I would trust that person when it comes to the history of things much more than their woke washed propagandized diverse survival plans where it's basically like, you need your COVID booster. That's the safest thing you can do when the hurricane hits.
Yeah, right. Yep. The worst blizzard ever is coming to Wisconsin. Get booster number 65.
Get your booster.
Yeah. You're going to be spending a lot of time in close quarters with your family and others. Make sure you get your booster.
Pretty much.
Yeah, dude. I could go on rants about religion, honestly.
I'd imagine you could. I think it's so fascinating because I have always loved history, and I think some of these stories are so good.
Yeah, honestly, people, like I said, I think the biggest reason people try to refute stories from the Bible is because they want to try to discredit the whole thing, because they don't want to. They don't want to believe X, Y, and Z. Therefore, they have to find every reason why, A, B, C, D, E, all the way up to X doesn't make sense. And I think that people are just, they kind of get on that thought of, I don't want to believe anything that the Bible says, even though
I think it simply comes down to this, man. People get that when you're a kid, and you kind of get that lesson of, oh, God's kind of like a man in the sky, and when it thunders, he's bowling. You kind of get those weird kind of cartoonish images. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the common atheist, that's their image to adulthood.
Right.
I feel like they don't grasp that it's like, no, it's actually just something that's bigger than you. It's the fact, it's the energy force. It's the connection to all living beings and humans. And
I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I think that God is entwined with all of that.
That's what I mean. He's the creator. He is all of us.
Right.
We all share in him, and the stronger connection you have to him, the stronger energy kind of you feel. Because I feel like an energy when I'm in church. So one of my favorite things to do when I was at certain companies where you'd go and get to install, it was churches. I loved the churches because you get to go in and go into the what do you call that, where they do the whole sermon and whatnot.
The sanctuary.
The sanctuary. So you go in there, no one's there. Mm-hmm. So the sanctuaries I would go into, at these jobs, and no one else is really there because it's like after hours, you're in there doing the install. So you're just like IT rooms, like, oh, the sanctuaries are there. I'm going to, I got to wait on hold or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk in here. And I'd always personally feel this energy, this warm kind of just this, I don't know, man. It would fill me from fucking, shoot. It would, it would fill me from,
head to toe.
Yeah. It honestly, it would be something that would just like fully grasp me.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I think I see that's another thing too, is people go into, that's another thing that we have such a problem with these days. I think with a lot of younger people is they have their mind made up and they will not be told anything different. And so a lot of times people miss out. So you invite someone to church, you invite someone to church, or they end up in a church somewhere and they look for everything negative, and whether it's, I don't like this about this church. I don't like the way the seats are arranged. I don't like, where the pastor is talking from. Do young people care about
the seats arrangement?
I think people will use anything they can to be unhappy with church.
With a church.
With a church. And I think here's the thing too, is there tends to be, I used to get really in the nitty-gritty of different denominations in Christianity. And
sure.
I found myself actually going to different denominational churches other than the one that I belong to, and I'd find myself kind of being skeptical at these other churches. Yet now when I think back at them, I think there are things that every church does right, and I think there's other things that other churches might not have necessarily right, or maybe they just do it a different way that I don't agree with.
You've got your own kind of shaped out view of what you see church.
But the biggest thing that I have kind of grown to learn is, because again, I used to be skeptical. I used to go into a church and think, oh, they're doing this. I don't like this. I'm never going to this church again. But there was also things, now that I'm looking back on it, my church could learn from, say maybe they have 50 more members than we do. Okay, well, why? Well, maybe it's because they greet everybody in the lobby right when they come in, even if they're new or they're an existing member. Things like that.
Little things, huh?
Yeah, it's the little things.
I thought every church really did that, though. I mean, the little meet and greet things. Yeah. Personally, like me, that's like a turn off.
Oh yeah. So what we like to do at our church is, first of all, we try to greet people, but we're not in your face. You know, it's not them going up to you with a gift basket saying, "Hey, how are you? What's your name?" Blah blah
well,
blah.
It depends on what's in the gift basket.
Yeah.
What
are we thinking here? Give me some ideas here.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, you don't want to hear my ideas. I see like a little 6-pack of beer in that gift basket, maybe some cheese and some summer sausage.
Yeah,
one of those little cutting boards.
Well, I did have an experience. Me and my wife actually had a difference in opinion on our denominations.
Little serving fork.
Just a whole charcuterie board,
maybe some cookies.
Oh boy, yeah. Me and my wife had a difference in thought about our denominations. She grew up in a different denomination than I did, and we actually, before we got married, because it was a big enough issue, we decided, well, we're going to find a church home that is somewhere in between our belief systems and try to figure this out together. And we visited a couple other churches that they gave off that vibe of like, you remember the old movie Dennis the Menace?
Yeah.
The older movie, the cheek pinchers.
Oh yeah.
That's what some of these churches were like. They'd come up to you and pinch your cheeks. Oh, hi, you guys are such a happy. They wouldn't They wouldn't physically pinch our cheeks because we were adults. We were 18, 19.
Could you imagine?
Well, I mean, that's almost the energy that it was like, where they were in our face. They're, oh, you guys are such a cute couple.
Oh, they just want to eat you up.
Yeah. That same kind of energy, just overbearing and like, I'm not comfortable, So that being said, it's something that you have to do tactfully. It's something that what we try to do at our church is our greeters are usually down to earth people. They're not the in your face kind of people, and it's usually, so I'm one. I usually help greet, and
there's your problem.
Yeah. No, it's usually just a, hey, how's it going? Feel free to sit anywhere you'd like. If you have any questions, please let us know. That's it. That's all it needs to be.
Sure, man. Short, sweet, to the point.
Yeah, the service should speak for itself. It shouldn't need a precursor. It shouldn't need a follow-up afterwards. And I think there's so many people out there that go into a church service when they're invited or they stumble into it. They just go in thinking, this is all a bunch of
They'll go in, they're thinking, all right, cool, I got invited, I'll go to this thing, sure, whatever. And then they get in there and it's like, oh my God, hey, it's a new person. Oh, yeah. And it's like, okay, is it weird?
Especially,
it feels weird. Like, why is everyone so excited I'm here? And then they make a big deal and they announce you right up at the front. We gotta, hey, welcome this person. It's like, a lot of stuff like that is a turn. For me personally, is a turn off. Some people might like it.
For men, it's a huge turn off for men. It is.
I guess there you go. But you know what? What is a turn on for the men in the church? Yes, I said that. It is.
Shut up, Joey.
And I don't. He's about to pull the mic down, and he's about to say something. Really, really dumb. And anyway, so here's what it is. All right, you got to give some sort of thing when you're done with the service, the ceremony, whatever the service is done. And I went to a church that was like this. It was actually pretty cool. They were very welcoming. They didn't do any of that announcement stuff, but they were greeting, some of the people that you could tell were the regulars or people that were more involved with the church kind of came up and said, oh, hi, kind of introduced themselves.
Yep.
But it was very short and 2 or 3 people.
Yep.
And you could just tell that they had a hand in the church. So it's like, I'm fine with that. And it was more on a personal level. They came up kind of like whispering, hey,
hey, how
shake your hands.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? We haven't seen you here before. What brings you here?
Exactly. So after the service, though, we go down and in the basement, they have all the tables set up.
Yeah.
It's kind of social, but they have donuts and all sorts of, donuts and coffee set up. It's social.
Yep.
Donuts, coffee, and everybody's kind of like that too. They're telling you during this, that's what they said. Oh, make sure you stay after that. We have some free donuts.
Yeah, we do the same thing. Yep. Fellowship hour is what we call it.
Okay, so that I feel like is the thing that you need to do. You need to always have that because that's and here's where I'm going to differ from Zach. I'm on a personal level. I don't view the church being a necessary component to life, but I view being a good kind of living those Christian morals, because I can't say that let's just say my wife's trying to make me probably a Catholic the best she can. But I definitely believe in like the 10 Commandments. I definitely believe in Christian morals. They're just common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't be a bad person. It all comes down to that. I know definitions of bad could vary, but a textbook definition of a bad person, just don't be a bad person.
Yeah.
Be good.
Yeah.
Just be good to people.
Yeah. And we,
be empathetic.
Maybe
empathetic to people.
There you go. Yep. Yeah. And I think, maybe that's a discussion for another episode too, is our viewpoints on religion and what we see about that.
We'll get there for sure. And it'll come up, I'm sure, during all these others. Because, this is a huge one. Like I was saying earlier, this is all religion-based. The Hamas and Israel. It's the Jews versus the Muslims. The Christians are coming to the Jews back on this one. But, it's crazy. You hear a long time ago they used to say, all wars are religious. And it's like, no, there were a lot of religious wars, especially ancient ones.
Oh, yeah.
But like the more modern ones, it's like, no, a lot of them were, economic, money-driven.
Yep.
Yeah. World War I, World War II, they were... It's kind of what happens when you have a bunch of alliances goes bad.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah. I think. Let me ask you this, because I heard on actually Joe's podcast here. We'll shout you out here. The Midwestern Goodbye podcast. It's the least we could do for him helping us out with this one, right?
Absolutely.
But interesting question, and I it's a pretty good one. So let's say, how hard would it be to distinguish when a Christian organization starts becoming a terrorist, quote unquote?
Oh, I'm surprised we're not already there.
Yeah.
How many? I thought that's where we were heading with the whole white supremacists, and then them making the parents of the school boards domestic terrorists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those memos. With COVID, they were putting the pastors in jail. I thought we were pretty much marching straight to that path.
I think what I mean is, how do you think that a Christian organization could be viewed? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're saying that people are already viewing Christians as a terrorist organization. Yeah. Some people. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think I agree with you, because there's so many Christian morals.
Which is another thing they have in common with the Nazis.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And there's so many Christian values out there that go against the woke agenda these days.
Yes.
It won't.
That's why they hate them.
Yeah. I honestly,
us, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if wars on Christians, it already exists, obviously, right, in other countries, but here even locally, it won't surprise me when that happens. Reading biblically, we know it's going to happen.
We have an organization here called the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
Yeah.
So it's already happening here. Mm-hmm. You know what they attack too? If they catch wind of a school doing a crazy fundraiser, like to send something out Middle East,
mm-hmm.
and it just the kids creating some colored postcards for some other kids.
Yeah,
they go in there and they shut that shit down. Yeah. They say, "Oh no, that was a Christian foundation." Mm-hmm. There's nope, none of that.
You know what's crazy though? They can have a meeting after school funded, school backed meeting for LGBTQ plus. They can of
course,
the Gay Straight Alliance and all of that.
Don't forget the Satan Club.
There's those out there too.
Yep. Elementary schools.
Yeah, I honestly, don't get me wrong. I know there's probably schools out there that have some sort of after school program. I'm sure there are schools out there.
I would hope so, man.
That have Christian groups, either meeting before or after school.
They probably have to keep it all hush hush though.
Well,
and who else had to keep something hush hush before, precursor to horrible, atrocious events happening?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where when people don't care about history, and I don't blame them, because the way they teach history in school was abhorrent.
Yeah.
You kind of had to learn on your own if you really cared. It's just like, here, read these chapters, and the worksheets were always really easy. They went in order with the paragraphs and the chapters, and as long as you read it, I found the answer to this one, I missed this one. You just read a couple paragraphs beforehand, and there it is.
Yeah.
And that's all you had to do.
Yep.
But if you took the time to care, and certain topics I didn't care about, I'll be honest, but like
Sure.
when it came to the war, the massive wars, and like why people did things, why did the jihadis think it's necessary to blow themselves up? Why did the Nazis, why did the civilians elect Hitler?
Yeah.
Why did that happen? You know, like these were questions I had when I was youth. You know, like I didn't. How did these things happen? The lead up events is what really caught me. So that's what I investigated when I was younger.
Yeah. I was never huge into history, I don't think. I failed a world history class.
How do you manage that?
Dude. Well, honestly, it was just I didn't do homework. I just didn't do the homework.
He's an American.
Well, I guess you're going with the statistic here. That does make sense.
One of my best history classes that I ever took, though, was American democracy in my senior year. So maybe that does add to that stereotype.
It's your democracy they're defending out there.
But yeah, the American democracy was kind of fun to me because it kind of led to it described how we became what we became as a nation, you know.
Is that the class that you take where they do the political compass test?
Well, we took a political compass test. There was U.S. history, which was sophomore year, and I think we took one in American democracy too.
Yeah.
So sophomore and senior year.
I was very surprised to find myself center right because I always viewed the right as bad because of the Nazis.
Yeah. Yep.
And lo and behold, there I was,
Yeah.
center right. And then the more and more you learn, and the more and older you get, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, they were more of a leftist cause,
Yeah.
realistically. I mean,
well, if you're labeling Republican and Democrat, the white supremacists, i.e. the KKK, was a democratic entity.
I don't think it's a line. I think it's a circle.
What do you mean?
I think communism and fascism, you can say, oh, the fascists are right and the communists are left. But I think at the end of the day, they're at the same point on the spectrum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
Instead of being a line where you have communism over on the far left,
right,
and you have fascism on the far right, it's more of bend that, and you've got this circle where the meat points are those, and the true middle is more like a libertarian stance. Where, I'd like to think that'd be possible, but I just don't think people have it in them.
No. I think whenever I hear the word libertarian, I think Parks and Recreation, Ron Swanson. Have you ever seen that show?
I have not.
Oh, you got to see it.
Brush up.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's not a lot of possibility for people to kind of have that backbone of, I'm just going to do my thing, let other people do their thing. We live in a world where everyone's in everyone's business anymore. You know what I mean? Everyone's worried about what their neighbor's doing, or, they're never looking at themselves. That's one thing that I've for sure noticed is no one's looking inward. There's no accountability.
Yeah, it's a lot of projection.
Absolutely.
Lot of projection on both sides of the fence too.
Yeah,
I find myself doing it too.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, sometimes a little bit.
I think you and me, we've had this conversation before too, but the lack of accountability is leading to a lot of these problems. A lot of these problems that we have nowadays, if someone actually sat back and took 10 seconds to think about what they were going to say or do, I think the world would be a much different place.
That's true. Did you also know that some people can't do that though? Some people have no inner dialogue. Some people can't think through a problem in their heads before it happens. There's actually I don't know if it's a large percentage of the population, but it's
not large enough to explain where the world is right now, I would say. But
well, for me personally, it's so hard to think about because it's like I could not imagine not being able to talk to myself.
Yeah, it definitely is weird to think about. Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I grew up where I was taught to think about what I was going to do before I did it. I was always taught that there's going to be a consequence for something if you do X, Y, Z. So think about it next time. Otherwise, you're going to get X, Y, Z consequence.
Yeah,
and maybe that's something. Otherwise, I mean, or are you saying that there's like a mental block there, like an actual chemical imbalance in the brain of some sort that causes them?
I don't know what you would call it.
Okay.
But they do not have
They don't have the.
So there's a court case I read, and it's something about, like why, imagine someone doing that to you, basically, is what they said.
Okay.
And the person says, "What do you mean no one did that to me?" They couldn't, like, put themselves in those shoes. They can't picture.
Okay.
It's something in their brain. There's a test for it. I think it's like 4 different pictures of an apple. It's like, what do you think what picture of an apple can you think of in your head when you think of an apple?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, there's 0, there's no apple. There's a really crudely drawn one, a little better one, and then like a really detailed one.
Okay.
It's like I can picture a fully detailed apple. I can slice it. I can do all sorts of stuff in my head with that apple.
Yeah.
I can build a skyscraper in my head.
Yeah.
Like I can do a lot in my head, like a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And just to think that people can't have that, don't possess that ability is to think that it's an ability.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was just something we all had. I thought that was a common sense, just base, thing.
Yeah.
A tribute, if you will. If this was a video game, we all start off with this one.
Yeah.
But no, it's not.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's kind of a weird concept to think about. And like I said, I don't think, while I think there are people that may have that issue, I don't think it's nearly enough to explain the way we're headed right now, even as a country, or, as the family unit. I think, I don't know. I think there needs to be more accountability these days, and I don't think it's necessarily something that it's got to be taught. It's got to start at home. That's my firm belief.
It has to go back to it. It has to go back to home.
Mm-hmm. That's our job as parents. That's our job as parents. Honestly, it is to make sure that our kids grow up to be the most successful that they can be. And if you can't be accountable for your own actions, there's no way that you're going to be successful. Because every time that your boss tells you, hey, you screwed up, I need you to do better. Oh, nowadays it's, no, I'm doing the best I can. How dare you tell me I didn't do it right?
I'm living my best life. I know my truth.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know my truth, boss.
Yeah.
You don't know.
And so I've
been through a lot.
The accountability needs to start at home, and I think
it does. But when it's too late, this is what you see. Mm-hmm. We're a spoiled, rotten generation. I
think people are learning the harsh realities of accountability.
We're going through dark times,
and I think,
because of sad,
absolutely.
sorry men.
And I think the
participation trophy men.
Yeah,
that's what this is.
Yeah, and I think that there are a lot of people who are talking about this, like you and I, who maybe didn't necessarily grow up with the same morals that we did, but people that are realizing, hey, world's a messed up place right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think enough people are being held accountable for their own actions. And so now they're starting to instill into their kids. And I really do think that, the youth of America, even though they're being brainwashed, I think a lot of them.
I don't think it's going to work.
What? Oh, right. That's what I'm getting to, is that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these kids are going to be able to see through this stuff.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to see it.
I think they already are. You see it. There's videos of them going like, oh, they show these crazy videos.
Yeah.
And they're like, why are you showing this to kids? And they're like freaking out on the teachers, and the teacher, you're being disrespectful. It's like, no, you guys are being sick.
Yeah.
But they're standing up for themselves.
Yeah.
You're damn right.
Kids standing up for themselves at school board meetings, at public forums. These are young kids. The youngest I've seen
skew conservative.
Yeah.
And not just because they're sick of it. The older ones, they're sick of it. It's gonna the tides are gonna change.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the ones that are usually on board with this stuff are they're also pro-abortion.
Well,
so they're kind of pro killing their offspring, if you will.
Yep.
They don't like families. They don't like kids.
Yeah.
You kind of get where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And the pendulum right now is swinging back because I think they push so hard. I think we were talking about this on the last episode about how we're like pot of frogs boiling in water, and they really just cranked us up. And I think that's kind of also an overcorrection, is the pendulum's going to swing. It's going to swing right. Hopefully not in the, the well, I don't think it is going in the Nazi sense. I think that's the other side. I think they show that time and time again with, what they want with their goals here. But
well, it's funny because most of the time it's a leftist who is the one that's talking about how a certain group of people needs to be stopped, needs to be stopped in some violent way. Look at Antifa. They're willing to burn cities down.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of accountability that needs to happen, and I think kids are actually starting to understand it. I really do. I think there's, like we said, I think they're seeing through this stuff, and
we can only hope.
Yeah. I mean, I know what I'm going to be instilling in my kids, and from, my kids go to public school, and I can see that they are actually hanging out with the kids who I'll talk to their parents, and they're instilling the same values, even if they're not Christian. They're instilling the same values and morals into their kids as mine are.
And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, is people don't realize, I think some do, but a lot of people don't, that these basic morals that we just live by as Americans are Christian based.
Yeah.
And that's why the third world imported over here isn't going to mesh as well. We'll be better off with the South Americans because they're going to be more Catholic and more Christian type based groups. So at least there's that. The ones that at least aren't the criminals that are released from their jails and then sent up here. Those guys probably aren't as much Christian.
Right.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
But the people from Africa and whatnot, some are probably Christian refugees. There's probably a few scattered in there.
Yeah.
But I don't imagine the large majority of them are.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Well, speaking of crossing the border, what's our beer of choice tonight, Kyle?
So I believe with the Bud Light fiasco, Modelo overcame them as the number one beer in America. It was also UFC's beer before
I saw
now
it, yep.
Bud Light.
Doesn't matter. That's still Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, but it's not Bud Light. So,
well, I think
see,
we both have...
when you get a conglomerate and a monopoly, the whole world becomes like what is that movie? Oh,
I'm not sure.
Idiocracy. So it becomes like Idiocracy.
Yeah.
And I mean, what are you gonna do, man? You buy like the French fries that are at McDonald's are by the same company that does the French fries at Burger King. What are you gonna do? Is what it is. They got their hand in the pot, both pots.
Yep.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Did you?
What do you need there?
I'm looking.
I don't know why you're looking at the bottom.
No,
of the
I'm
box.
looking at the nutrition facts. I'm looking at.
Oh,
there's 1.1 gram of protein in each bottle.
That's good.
That's getting our protein here.
So we're about to go to the gym after a few more of these.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a good enough amount of protein.
Yeah. No, Modelo. I'm liking it. I'm really liking it. It's been a long time since I've had a Modelo.
It's good beer.
It is. It's very good.
It's Modelo time, fool.
Yeah.
It's kind of a go-to beer. I feel like it's a working man's beer. You get done. Get done with a long day's work. You crack open, I don't know, maybe drink 3 of these, catch a good buzz.
Yep.
Depending on who you are. And that's all you really need. And the cases, it's a very affordable beer.
Yeah.
Not very expensive. So there's that.
Yeah. I will say I prefer it over Corona. I had a Corona not too long ago, and I actually prefer this way more over Corona.
It was between this and Dos Equis.
Okay.
So maybe that'll be one we do one of these other times. I tell you what, we'll have to do Tecate. That's a Mexican beer that is absolutely horrible.
I think I've tried it before. I have a cousin who drinks Tecate, and he'll put hot sauce in it.
So that's what I was gonna say. We're gonna have to get some seasoning, some tahini.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll pour that in there. And it makes it so good.
Yeah.
It turns this crap beer into the best beer. And so maybe that'll be our next episode's beer.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I'm down. So, well, thanks for watching thanks for listening, everybody. I don't know why not watching us yet. We're looking
thanks for
into
tuning
cameras.
in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go enjoy some delicious mac and cheese and weenies. We got these good beef franks. We're gonna be cooking up.
No, I will not be. I will not be participating in that one.
You will? Why? Oh, you're allergic to cheese, or what's wrong with you?
I'm not a fan of the mac and cheese and hot dog.
He's a
thing.
mac and cheese denier.
Mac and cheese denier, this guy.
No, I don't mind mac and cheese.
You like the
and I
skim
don't
milk?
mind.
We can get you some skim milk.
Does it look like I like skim milk, Kyle?
It doesn't. You're going head first into the whole milk, sir.
I don't. 2%. I'm on a diet. So.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Sounds good. We'll see you.